Assalamu alaikum students. Hope you all are fine and in good health. This is your online lecture of biology, FSC part 1 from chapter number 13 immunity. And in this section we will talk about second line of defense. Now as we have studied previously that first line of defense it includes skin which acts as an impenetrable barrier against the microbial invasion. Then we have also studied about the mucous membrane of digestive tract and respiratory tract which acts as impenetrable barrier against the pathogens. So skin and mucous membrane of respiratory and digestive tract they act as barriers against the microbes. Now if the skin it gets damaged, microbes they can enter the bloodstream and they can make us ill. So as a result, when the microbes they enter the body, the second line of defense is activated and second line of defense it is internal but non-specific. So there are three lines of defense against the infection. First line of defense which we have discussed in the previous lecture, it is non-specific because it is not activated against a specific pathogen. All types of the pathogens or the microbes, the first line of defense it is active or it is activated. First line of defense it is non-specific natural barriers which restrict entry of the pathogens. So the first line of defense they are internal, non-specific, and they restrict entry of every kind of the pathogens. First line of defense it includes skin and mucous membranes of respiratory and digestive tract. Second line of defense it is innate. Innate means it is present right after the time of birth. As first line of defense it is also innate, that is present right at the time of birth. So second line of defense is innate, it's non-specific, and internal immune defense provide rapid local response to the pathogen after it has entered the host. So if the first line of defense it fails to stop the microbes at the first level, then second line of defense it is activated and it includes fever, phagocytes, different types of the white blood cells which include macrophages and neutrophils, inflammation or swelling of that area, and interferons, which we will discuss about the interferons later in this section. Third line of defense. Now, if the second line of defense it also fails to fight against the microbes or the pathogens, third line of defense is activated after that. Antigen specific immune response. So the third line of defense it includes antigen specific immune response. So the third line of defense it is internal and it is specific. So specifically target and attack invaders that get past first two lines of defense. So if the microbes they have passed the first two lines of defense, first and second line, then third line of defense is activated and it is antigen specific immune response. Third line of defense includes production of different antibodies and lymphocytes. Now here in this section we will talk about the second line of defense. When pathogens are successful in penetrating the barriers that are in place to prevent their entry into the organism, that is the first line of defense, non-specific responses that are the second line of defense are quickly activated to try to destroy the invaders before they can cause any damage to the body. So if the first line of defense or the external barriers which include skin, mucous membrane of the digestive and respiratory tract, they get failed to restrict the microbes or the pathogens, then second line of defense is activated. And the second line of defense, it will destroy the invaders before they can cause any further damage to the body. Now here you can see that if any pin or any needle, it is pinched into the skin, it will cause the injury at that area, and also it causes the insertion or movement of the bacteria or engulfment of bacteria within the skin. So after the entry of bacteria within the skin, chemical alarm signals, they are produced by the skin or that area, and as a result the blood cells, they just send their soldiers or the phagocytes at that area of infection or at that area of entry, at that area of injury, and as a result those bacteria, they are engulfed and finally destroyed by the phagocytes. Second line of defense, it is non-specific defense and it is internal. If microbes become successful to penetrate the skin or mucous membrane, then a second line of defense takes action against these foreign invaders. Invaders means that those substances or the microbes which try to invade the body or which try to cause infection within the body. So if the first line of defense, it fails to restrict those microorganisms, then second line of defense, it is activated. The second line of defense comprises three non-specific internal defense. So second line of defense, it is made up of, or it is having three lines, three non-specific internal defense mechanisms. First, the body has a standing army of phagocytic cells and natural killer cells. So firstly, as the microbes, they enter the body, our body, it is having some soldiers or standing army of the phagocytic cells and natural killer cells. So phagocytic cells, these are the cells which can bring about the process of phagocytosis. Phagocytosis, it is the solid eating process of cell. Phago means large, cytosis means engulfment by the cell. So phagocytosis, it is the solid eating process of cell. Or a phagocyte is a cell that destroys other abnormal body cells or invaded microorganisms by engulfing them or ingesting them. This process is referred as phagocytosis. So phagocytosis is the process by which the phagocytic cells, they engulf, they take in the pathogens or the microbes and finally destroy them. Natural killer cells, they are the killing cells of the body that destroy the microbes or discourage microbial growth. So this was the first non-specific internal defense in case of second line of defense, that we're having some phagocytic cells and natural killer cells. Second, invasion of microbes provokes an inflammatory response. So as a result of the invasion or entry of different microbes, it just provokes or it brings about inflammatory response. Inflammatory response means that at that particular area where the microbes, they enter, inflammation will occur or swelling will occur at that area. Third, the body often produces fever or gives rise temperature response. So thirdly, fever will occur or there will be an increased temperature of our body than normal. So these three non-specific internal defense are there in case of second line of defense. First includes phagocytic cells and natural killer cells. Secondly, inflammatory response. And third, there is fever. In addition, some protective proteins are also the part of second line of defense. These defense are non-specific because they attack wide variety of microbes rather than targeting specific invaders as the immune response does. So, in addition to these three non-specific internal defenses, there are also some protective proteins which attack the invading microorganisms. And as these three non-specific internal defense, they attack a wide variety or different types of the microbes. That's why it is non-specific immune response. Now, first we are having the killing cells of blood. There are white blood cells in the body called phagocytes. Now, as we know that we are having three types of the blood cells: erythrocytes or the red blood cells, white blood cells also termed as leukocytes, and thirdly we are having the platelets. So within our body, white blood cells or the leukocytes, there is a category of the white blood cells termed as phagocytes. A phagocyte is a cell that destroys other abnormal body cells, maybe cancerous cells or any invaded microorganisms by engulfing or ingesting them. So phagocyte is a cell, is a white blood cell within the body that destroys any abnormal cell or any foreign cell, maybe the cancerous cell or any microbe or any invaded microorganism just by engulfing them or taking in them and finally digesting them. So phagocytes, they destroy the cancerous cells and invaded microorganisms by engulfing and ingesting them. This process is called phagocytosis. So this overall process by which the phagocytic cell, it engulfs and finally digests any microorganism or any foreign substance is termed as phagocytosis. Two types of blood cells are phagocytes, which include macrophages and neutrophils. First, we're having a brief look on the macrophages. Macrophages are derived from monocytes, or the monocytes that leave the blood are called macrophages. So within the body, we're having some WBCs termed as monocytes. Monocytes, they are present within the blood. When those monocytes, they leave the bloodstream, then they are referred as macrophages. As the word macro means large, phage means eaters, so they are the big eaters or the large eaters which can engulf the invading microorganisms. Monocytes are formed in the bone marrow. So the site of formation of monocytes is bone marrow. From bone marrow through blood, macrophages are transported to the areas of the body where they are needed. So monocytes, they are formed within the bone marrow, and then from the bone marrow by means of blood or via blood, the macrophages, they are transported to the site or to the area where they are required. Macrophages are generally found in the organs such as lungs, liver, spleen, kidney, and lymph nodes rather than remaining in the blood. So macrophages, they are found in a wide variety of different organs which include lungs, liver, spleen, and kidneys, etc. In these organs, they patrol within the free spaces among the cells and provide protection by trapping and destroying microorganisms entering the tissue. So, within all these organisms, they carry on patrolling or they carry on moving here and there within the blood and between the cells or the spaces which are present between the cells, termed as interstitial spaces or interstitium, and finally they just trap the microbes or the foreign substances and destroy them. As macrophages interact with microbes, they not only engulf and destroy them, they also displace some parts of microbes on their surface so that other body cells may also be informed. So macrophages, as discussed earlier, they engulf the foreign substances or the microbes and finally destroy them. In addition to their role that is engulfment and destruction of the microbes, they also display or present some parts of those microbes on their surface in order to just enable other cells that there are some microbes present in that site, or to inform other cells about those microbes. The macrophages also secrete many different proteins when they perform phagocytosis of the microbes. So during the phenomenon of phagocytosis, macrophages they also secrete certain proteins. Some of these proteins trigger the maturation of monocytes into macrophages. So macrophages they produce proteins which further trigger or speed up the maturation of monocytes to macrophages, thereby increasing their number. So because of those proteins, the maturation of monocytes to macrophages will take place, and as a result, the number of the macrophages will increase, and those macrophages they can finally fight those microbes. Another protein, interleukin 1, signals the brain to raise the body temperature, producing fever. Another protein is there which is referred as interleukin 1. That interleukin 1 it signals the brain to raise the body temperature, and as a result, due to the raised body temperature or fever, the growth of the microbes it is restricted. Some other proteins also stimulate the specific immune response. So interleukin 1, they are one of a group of related proteins made by the leukocytes and other cells in body, especially macrophages, and help lymphocytes to fight the infection. So interleukin 1, they are the one of group of related proteins made by the leukocytes and other cells in body, especially the macrophages, and they will help the lymphocytes to fight the infections. Now here you can see the response of the macrophages to the foreign particles. Now as we have discussed that monocytes, these are the white blood cells which are present in blood. When monocytes they leave the blood, they are turned into the macrophages. So monocytes triggered by proteins to mature into macrophages, or when the monocytes they leave the blood, they are termed as macrophages. Here you can see the mature macrophage. Now when macrophage it gets in the environment of the bacteria, they will attach with that bacteria and finally engulf it or take it into its body and digest it. Macrophages attack the bacteria. Macrophages engulfs or ingest that bacterium, digest it, and also displays parts on the surface. So some of the parts of that digested bacteria, it will be presented by the macrophages in order to inform other cells. So proteins are secreted as well that will cause rise in the body temperature, and due to the rise in body temperature, the growth of those microbes is restricted. Now here you can see the monocytes. They are having single large nucleus, kidney shaped. The cytoplasm is having no granules but vacuoles, and function of the monocytes is phagocytosis. Lifespan is around about 10 to 20 hours in blood, or 3 days. Monocytes, here you can see the monocytes, no visible granules are there, and they are having a single kidney shaped nucleus. Monocytes they may leave bloodstream to become macrophages. They phagocytose the bacteria, dead cells, and other debris as well. Now next we are having the neutrophils. Neutrophils, they belong to the granulocyte type of WBCs. So neutrophils, they are the white blood cells or the leukocytes, and the category of the white blood cells is granulocyte. As the name indicates, granulocytes, they are a category of WBCs characterized by the granules present in their cytoplasm. I'm repeating, granulocytes are a type of WBCs categorized or characterized by the presence of granules in their cytoplasm. So neutrophils, they belong to the granulocyte type of WBCs because they are having some granules within their cytoplasm. They are highly short-lived and highly mobile as they can squeeze between cells of capillary walls and can enter parts of tissue where other cells or molecules would not be able to enter otherwise. So neutrophils' first property is that they are granulocyte type of WBCs. They are short-lived and they are highly mobile, or they can move freely as they can squeeze through the very narrow capillary walls, and they can also enter those areas where other cells or molecules it's difficult for them to enter. They move like amoeba, forming pseudopodia. So just like the amoeba, they also just squeeze themselves and they can move just in the manner amoeba. They move by the help of their pseudopodia or finger-like projections. They proceed rapidly to infected area to perform their duty, and they often die after a single phagocytic event. So neutrophils, they are the first responders, or they quickly respond to the infected area, and they also die after a single phagocytic event, or once they phagocytose any bacteria, they will just die after that phagocytic event. Neutrophils also release lysosomal enzymes and certain chemicals that kill microorganisms and cause infection. So neutrophils, they are the first responders. They are the granulocyte type of WBCs. They are short-lived and they are highly mobile as they can squeeze between cells of capillary walls where other cells cannot enter. Then we have also discussed that neutrophils, they also release lysosomal enzymes, or the enzymes, digesting enzymes, certain digesting enzymes which can digest the microorganisms and can also cause inflammation. Next, we are having the natural killer cells. Natural killer cells are the type of T lymphocytes. So we have to remember, students, that natural killer cells, they are the type of T lymphocytes. T lymphocytes, T cell is a type of lymphocyte which develops in thymus gland and plays central role in immune response. I'm repeating. T cell is a type of lymphocyte which develops in the thymus gland and plays a central role in immune response. So natural killer cells, they are the types of T lymphocytes. They are also called cytotoxic T cells. So natural killer cells are also referred as cytotoxic T cells. In general, natural killer cells do not directly attack invading microbes. Instead, natural killer cells strike at the cancerous cells or body cells that have been invaded by viruses. So natural killer cells, they do not directly attack the microbes, but they strike those cancerous cells which have been invaded or which have been uh, destroyed by the viruses. Natural killer cells kill their target by releasing proteins called perforins, which punch holes through the membranes of the infected cells. So, as those infected cells, they are of no use now. So, natural killer cells, they will target those cancerous cells or the body cells, and they release proteins termed as perforins. Now, as the name indicates, perforins, they will cause some pores or they will pinch some holes through the membranes of the infected cells. As a result, the pores formed by these proteins allow for the passive diffusion of certain apoptotic proteases known as granzymes. So natural killer cells, they will target the cancerous cells, Then natural killer cells, they will release proteins termed as perforins. Those perforins, they will punch holes or they will cause pores in the membranes of those cells, and the pores, they will allow the diffusion of certain apoptotic proteases. Apoptotic proteases means these are the certain protein digesting enzymes, or they are the enzymes that can cause programmed cell death of those cells which are not doing any particular job now, or which have been destroyed by the microbes. And those apoptotic proteases are known as granzymes into the target cell. So firstly, natural killer cells, they will target the cancerous cells or body cells. Then they will release proteins termed as perforins. As a result of perforins, certain pores are produced in the membranes of those cells. Then those pores, they will cause inverse movement or passive diffusion of certain proteases termed as granzymes within those cells. As a result, the cell, it eventually dies by apoptosis. And as if we are able to recall that apoptosis, it means programmed cell death. Natural killer cells also attack cancer cells at an early stage of tumor. So natural killer cells, they are able to attack the cancerous cells during the early stages of the tumor or abnormal growth. Next, we are having protective proteins of complement system. So we have discussed about the killing cells of blood. Now we are having the protective proteins of complement system. The complement system consists over 30 types of small proteins found in the blood, in general synthesized by the liver and normally circulating in inactive state. So this complement system, it consists of 30 different proteins which are present in inactive state, circulating in the body, and they are synthesized by liver. They are activated on the entry of foreign particles. So during normal conditions they are inactive, and they are activated on the entry of any foreign particle or any microbe. Once a complement protein is activated, it activates another protein which further activates other proteins of the system, and so on. So once a complement protein, it is activated, it will cause the activation of next protein. Then that next one will cause activation of the next one, so on and so forth. Those complement proteins, they are activated. The result of this complement activation is stimulation of phagocytes to clear foreign and damaged material, development of inflammation to attract additional phagocytes at the site of infection, and activation of cell killing membrane attack complexes. So what is the role of those complement activation? That complement activation, it will result in further stimulation of the phagocytes to clear the debris of those foreign and damaged material. It will also develop inflammation, and as a result of that inflammation, other phagocytes, they will also reach the site of infection. And thirdly, activation of cell killing membrane attack complexes. The complement system is an important supporter of the immune system that enhances the ability of antibodies and phagocytic cells to clear microbes and damaged cells from the body, promotes inflammation, and attacks the pathogen's plasma membrane. So complement system, it is an important supporter of the immune system which clear microbes and the damaged cells from the body. It also promotes inflammation, and finally it will cause the destruction of microbe or pathogen. Now here you can see action of the complement system against a bacterium. Here you can see activated complement proteins form complexes of proteins that create holes in the bacterial cell wall. So once a complement protein, it is activated, it will activate the next complement protein, the next, and so on and so forth. And finally, those complement proteins, they will pinch holes in the wall of the microbe, and from those holes certain apoptotic proteases they can move inwards and can cause destruction of the microbe. Then as a result, from these holes or these pores, water and salts they can move within the bacterial cell and can destroy that bacterium. Water and salts they diffuse into the bacterium through the holes and finally destroy the bacterial cell. Sorry students. So we were just discussing about the action of complement system against a bacterium. An example of protective proteins of complement system is perforin, a member attack complex that produces holes in the bacterial cell walls and plasma membranes of bacteria. So example of the complement protein is perforin. As the name indicate, it causes pores within the bacterial cell, and from those pores, water and salts they can enter the bacterial cell, and because of the change in pH and because of more amount of those salts and water, it results in the bacterial cell it will swell and finally it will burst. The holes allow fluids and salts to enter the bacterial cell, thus bacterial cell it will swell and finally burst. Next we are having interferons. Interferons belong to the large class of proteins known as cytokines, molecules used for communication between cells during infection. So interferons, they are a large class of proteins termed as cytokines. So the cytokines, they are used for communication between cells during infection. Interferon, as the name indicates, they will interfere with viral infection, and they are a group of signaling proteins which are released by host cells in response to presence of viruses. So interferons they belong to the large class of proteins known as cytokines, and they are used for communication between cells during infection. They are made and released by host cells in response to the presence of several pathogens, especially viruses. So they are produced by the host cells in response to various pathogens, especially viruses. Interferons are named for their ability to interfere with viral replication, as interferons activate molecules which prevent the virus from producing and replicating its RNA or DNA. So interferons they typically interfere with the viral replication. They will restrict the growth of the viruses, and they just inhibit virus from producing and replicating its genetic material or its genome, that is maybe DNA or RNA. In this way, interferons limit cell to cell spread of viruses in the body. So as a result, interferons they will limit the spread of the viruses which have invaded the body. Interferons also activate immune cells such as natural killer cells and macrophages that in turn destroy virally infected cells. Interferons they will also activate other immune cells which include natural killer cells and macrophages. Now here you can see that the production of the cytokines. Cytokines, they are a large class of proteins, and those interferons they belong to these cytokines, and as a result of these cytokines the cells they can communicate with one another during any infection by any microbe. Next we are having the inflammatory response. Inflammation, as the name indicates, it means swelling, or this word inflammation literally means setting on fire or redness or burning. The inflammatory response is a major component of the non-specific defense. So inflammatory response, it is also one of the major component of the non-specific defense. Any damage to the tissue whether caused by an infectious microorganism or by physical injury. Even just a scratch or an insect bite triggers this response. So even when any needle it is pinched within the skin or by any insect bite, it will cause or it will trigger this response. So at that particular site of insect bite, inflammation will occur. Inflammation, it can be localized or systemic. Localized means it is restricted or it is confined to that particular area, and systemic means widespread or is an inflammatory state affecting the whole body. Local inflammation is an inflammatory response confined to a specific area or to a particular area. The classical signs of inflammation include heat, pain, redness, swelling, and loss of function. So just imagine, students, that any mosquito has bitten on the skin, and that mosquito bite or insect bite, it will cause heat, pain, redness, and finally swelling at that particular area. This is referred as inflammatory response to that insect bite. Inflammation literally means setting on fire. In case where a pin has broken the skin and infected with bacteria, there will be inflammation. The first thing that happened when a tissue is injured is that the damaged cells release chemical alarm signals such as histamine. So when a needle it is inserted within the skin, the bacteria which are present on the needle, they will enter the skin. As a result, our body it will produce certain chemical alarm signals, which is histamine. Histamine, it is a neurotransmitter of the brain, spinal cord, etc. It will transmit certain signals to the brain. The chemical sparks the mobilization of various defense. So as a result of this chemical, it will cause mobilization or it will active certain defense mechanisms. Histamines, for example, induces neighboring blood vessels to dilate and blood vessels start leaking. So as a result of production of histamine or this neurotransmitter, the neighboring blood vessels of that particular area, they will dilate or their diameter will enlarge, and blood vessels, they will start leaking. Blood supply to that damaged area, it will be increased, and blood plasma passes out of the leaky vessels into the interstitial fluid of the affected tissues. So as a result of production of histamine, blood supply to that particular area, it will increase, and the blood plasma, it will pass out into the leaky vessels into the interstitial fluid of that affected tissue. Function of inflammation is to eliminate the initial cause of cell injury, clear out necrotic cells and tissues damaged from the original insult and the inflammatory process, and to initiate tissue repair. So functions of inflammation include to eliminate the initial cause or the starting cause of damage of the cell injury cell, clear out the necrotic cells. Necrotic cells means the tissues which have been damaged. As we know that necrosis means sudden tissue death. So due to inflammation, its function include initial elimination of the cause of infection or cause of injury, clearance of necrotic cells and tissues damaged from the original attack, and the inflammatory process to initiate tissue repair. So that area it is also repaired due to the inflammation or to start the repairing of that particular area. The inflammatory response also helps to prevent the spread of infection to the surrounding tissues. Inflammatory response, it also helps to stop the spread of infections to other areas. So students, here you can see that the inflammatory response. Say for example, a pin, it has been inserted within the skin. The pin, it is having, its surface is having certain bacteria or the microbes. As a result of entrance of those bacteria, chemical signals, they are produced. Those chemical signals, they include histamine. As a result of production of histamine, the blood vessels which are here in that area or in the neighboring area, they will dilate. You can see over here the dilation of the blood vessels. Their diameter will increase, and as a result of their dilation, the blood supply to that particular area, it will increase. So you can see the bleeding over here. And finally, that tissue or that area, it is swelled or inflammation will occur. Here will be the redness and pain will take place. So tissues injury, release of chemical signals such as histamine. First step is release of chemical signals, which is histamine, after the injury. Then dilation and increased leakness of local blood vessels, migration of phagocytes to that area. So then next, the blood vessels, they will dilate and supply of blood at that particular area, it will increase. Now due to the blood vessels or dilation of blood or increased supply of blood at that area, phagocytes, they will easily reach that particular area. And as a result, the phagocytes, they will attack those microbes. Phagocytes, which may be macrophages and neutrophils, they consume bacteria and cell debris tissue. Finally, it heals. Second line of defense is about the inflammatory response. Injured body cells, they release chemicals called histamines, which begin the inflammatory response. What will happen during that inflammatory response? Capillaries, they will dilate. Pyrogens are released, which reach the hypothalamus, and body temperature, it also rises. So inflammation will occur, and pyrogens, they are the chemicals which cause temperature. So as a result, temperature will occur, or the temperature of the body, it will rise, and as a result, the growth of the microbes is inhibited. So students, today we have talked about the second line of defense. Second line of defense, it includes killing cells of the blood. It includes inflammatory response and fever. So here you can see the defensive strategies of the second line of defense. There are defensive cells which include phagocytes, neutrophils and macrophages, natural killer cells. Then there are certain defensive proteins which include interferons, cytokines and complement system. Then inflammation also. Inflammation means setting on fire. Inflammation, its symptoms include redness, heat, swelling and pain. And during inflammation, as we have discussed, that certain neurotransmitters or histamine, certain chemicals, they are released. As a result of those chemical messengers, the blood vessels, they will dilate. As a result, there will be an increased supply of blood to that particular area. Phagocytes, they will easily reach that area and they will fight the microbes. And last, we are having the fever. Fever means increase in the body temperature. So fever, it is not always having a demerit, it is also having some significant use or significant uh, increase in temperature. It is also having some merits as well. The fever, it will result in slowing of the bacterial growth, and it will restrict the microbial growth. So good luck students for memorizing the topic. This was all for now. Till then, Allah Hafiz. Thank you.